Hi, this is Randy, and we're continuing on with our pfSense installation. Where I left off with you, we had gone through in the video and configured the IPv4 and IPv6 settings for the WAN interface, and I left it onto you, or left it for you to do the LAN interface. And I did notice there was a couple of questions in there that would have been handy to have mentioned those ahead of time. But we do not want the pfSense to be a DHCP server. Forget what the other question was, but we don't. Well, all we wanted to do is do a firewall. We're going to do DHCP and DNS and whatnot internally on one of our other virtuals. So if you wondered about that, just the basic address assignments and no services from pfSense other than just the firewall service. So I've got my screen up here and it's showing my IPv4 and IPv6 settings for both my internal and external. And what we're going to do, since we have this now, is now we're going to switch over to an internal client, whichever one you picked. I picked my DC1, and we're going to open a web browser on that internal client and then go to the IP address for the internal interface and begin working with it through the web browser. We're going to go through a post-installation wizard and whatnot. And so that would be for me, that would be my 172.16.18.1 address, or my FF18::1 address. Either one of those will work. When you do use an IPv6 address in a web browser, you do need to put it in brackets, square brackets, and then you can plug an address in a web browser. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video here and I'll switch over and get my graphical machine up with a web browser. Okay, so I'm back with my web browser, and its size is a little bit funny, but we're going to go ahead and run with it. Okay, the default for when you install pfSense, the default login is admin with the password of pfSense. Okay. What we're faced with now is we're faced with the post-installation wizard. Now I did checkpoint my PF1 so that if I went through this and I wanted to back up and go through it again, I could do that. Okay, this wizard will guide you through the initial configuration of pfSense. Okay, support, they talk about this, and off and on through the recent years, the department here site has paid for support, just not that we've needed it, but just to support them with their project here. Okay, so we get to name it, and this comes off of our build document, PF1, and I'm currently working with, actually I'm working with hawaii.bobstaco.com. Let me scroll down, primary and secondary DNS servers. Let's go ahead and add those in there. I'm just going to go ahead and put in initially an IPv4. Okay. Time source, which is a great idea that they provide this here for us. You could put in your own time source, and what we need to do is we need to find ourselves in here. This is always a challenge for me. America, not too bad. America, Los Angeles, that's the one I'm looking for. Okay. Okay, the WAN interface is static. We're happy with that. We did that during our command line. Autocomplete. Let's go ahead and close that. So this is the address that we assigned from the command line, and you can see here that we could change it. We do need to be able to get to the web interface to do that, and so you kind of get into how do you get the initial setup done. And there we go. We don't need to do any of this. Okay, this would all be based upon how we're connecting to the internet. A couple of important things here, and it depends on where you're installing pfSense. You may or may not want to check these boxes, but it has to do with private IP addresses going out on the internet. That's not normal. 172.16 addresses, 192.168.10 addresses, and by checking the boxes here, you're saying that you don't want to allow that. If those addresses are trying to come into your network, or if they're trying to go out from your network, that you want to stop those. Now, sometimes you have a firewall that still is inside far enough, like if you have a dual firewall, front to back firewall, you might need to uncheck these because you might need 192, 168, 172.16, and so on. You might need those to go through, so please be aware of that here. These are RFCs, and then bogon. Bogon are just addresses that are currently not defined by our what we know for addresses. There are, like within IPv4, especially, there are some blocks that are like multicast or experimental, and it's saying when you get into the ones that are not clearly identified, do you want to ignore those? That's what a bogon network is. So here we're at our internal interface, and again, we could change it. We had to know this to be able to get where we are. You notice here I did go with HTTP, and you might have gone with HTTPS. No problem with that. Okay. Now here, I was thinking about this as I was setting up for this video, and again, this one's running a little bit long, that a lot of the address information is being shared in these videos out onto the internet, and so I'm doing this ahead of the class. When the class actually starts, what I'll do is I'll put up a corrected password. Excuse me. Yeah, it looks. I think we've got a little bit of a security vulnerability here, and then I've shared on through these YouTube videos. I've shared our build doc where we show login information and passwords if somebody was to catch it. So please pay attention or note that during the actual project here, I'll have an updated address for you. But in the build document, I'll just go ahead and type in what we had. I won't say it, but I'll go ahead and type it in. Okay, we're almost done here. We're on 6 of 9. 7 of 9, reload it. That sounds like a Star Trek reference. 7 of 9. Okay, 8 of 9, reload in progress here. 9 of 9, we're good. And again, a reference to support. So what we do here now, the best thing to do would be to log out and log back in. Okay, accept the license agreement. But the thing that we want to do right off is we want to come to this page and we want to look at updates. We're going to check a couple things here. You can shrink some of this stuff, by the way, and you can look at your LAN. Tells us they're both up, shows us their address, shows us there's an update available. I didn't catch that. I thought we downloaded the latest. But what I'm going to do is I'll close up this video, and then we'll come back in, and we want to test that we can get to the internet. We want to also apply the OpenVMware tools or OpenVM tools, and then we're going to do a couple rules. We've got a few more things to do with pfSense, but we'll go ahead and wrap up this video. So this video basically just reviewed our IP addresses that we did in the console interface, and then came in and we ran through the wizard. You can rerun the wizard. You can go up here and you can run the setup wizard again if you'd like to, or I also snapshotted so I could revert to my snapshot or my checkpoint and I could run through the wizard again. So I'll wrap up this video and we'll continue on.